What's up everybody, welcome to Inside the Game, your one-stop shop for everything cool in video games. You want to be a part of the show? Then head to InsideTheGame.ca where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. Now lately we're over on Twitch. We've been streaming some of our gameplay lately, so come out and hang out with us, the official ITG over on Twitch. Now we have a jam-packed episode this week. Xbox is inside, Nate and Scott are checking out Tharsis, and Sam Fisher is back. Kinda. All that and a whole lot more in today's show, so let's get started with the Inside Scoop.
Alright, Call of Duty fans, Season 2 is wrapped up, but guess what? We're already on to Season 3. With it dropping, we're getting a whole lot of new stuff for Warzone and for the regular multiplayer. But let's start off with Warzone. We're getting some new characters. Alex, an original character from the original Modern Warfare game, and guess what? His attack dog, Riley, is also in. If you order the Battle Pass, you're going to get a special finishing move, including Riley, which is really sweet, so you don't want to miss that. And on the multiplayer side of things, we're getting a whole new map, we're getting a couple new guns, and we're getting a few gameplay tweaks that should help with some of the audio issues that we have been having with Warzone and the multiplayer since launch. So hopefully those things get cleared up, but let me tell you, Season 3's chock full of new stuff and it's worth checking out. So make sure you get over there and take a look.
Phil Harrison over at Google Stadia has announced that he is giving all players access to Google Stadia for 2 free months. After that, your account will revert to a $9.99 per month cost, but you can opt out of that beforehand and no cost to you. Now, they are addressing the controversy of everybody jumping on the internet at such a critical time with some countermeasures. They are going to reduce the top performance of all games down to 1080p. Instead of the 4K that normal Pro members are used to. But that will be dialed back up as load can allow.
Alright, let's get inside Xbox with all the latest news and gaming announcements. Firstly, on Xbox Game Pass, it's expanding like usual. The Microsoft Game Service is moving to both Korea and Japan. This is exciting news for Asia, and I'm excited to maybe meet up online with some fellow gamers and friends. So upon Xbox Game Pass's further expansion, we're getting even more games. Firstly, we have Alvestea Chronicles. Forgive my pronunciation. Secondly, one of my favorite couch co-op games, the most chaotic couch co-op experience, Overcooked 2. Thirdly, you can take a journey to the Savage Planet. So in addition to all this stuff, we also got news from Obsidian's newest title, Grounded. This survival style Honey I Shrunk the Kids co-op game looks like a lot of fun, and it's coming to Xbox and Steam in-game preview as of July 28th. Hopefully, it's provided that COVID doesn't strike in any more worse ways. So definitely check out this trailer.
You might come across some strange things while looking around. I'm not sure who put them here or what they want. What I do know is that they're watching.
EA is becoming a little more accessible to those who are in the Xbox X Cloud system. So with their newest editions of games, we're getting The Sims 4, Unravel 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition. So in addition to all that other great news that I mentioned, Xbox One's exclusives are getting beefed up a little bit more. Sea of Thieves is adding a new questline with the Ships of Fortunes update that brings in new trading companies and the ability to show off your favorite trading companies in new ways. Forza Street is coming to iOS and Android as of May 5th, and if you log in between then and June 5th, you will get the Founders Pack for free. Now this Founders Pack, it gives you access to the 2017 4 GT, and a bunch of extra stuff. So this is pretty sweet that you can get this for free just by logging in. Lastly, we caught wind on the Gears of War tactics style game, and it sounds pretty great. This tactics style game gives you the perspective from top down and also brings a sort of XCOM 2 feel while also giving you that Gears of War cinematic experience and storyline. Now this story, it kind of takes place before all of Gears of War and follows Kate's father. So I'm pretty excited to see all this. I'm a beloved fan of Gears of War, so to kind of have a different take on it, let's see how this pans out.
It's not the first, and it won't be the last. Final Fantasy 15.
Scott, you and I jumped into Final Fantasy 15, which isn't a new game, but it's something new over on the Stadia, which is where we were playing this and checking it out because this is one of the series that I've kind of wanted to play for a long time. Final Fantasy, the last one I played was 10. And I really played like a ton of 10. I thought 10 was fantastic. But the Final Fantasy series has kind of been a difficult one to get into. At what point do you jump in? And what point do you stay away from? And when the games are so long, because man, Final Fantasy 15 is not a short game. And it came with a couple extra features to the Stadia. And our biggest thing for moving it to Stadia and why we wanted to test it out was to see how well it plays on Stadia. What'd you think?
Yeah, so there's a lot. I hadn't gotten into a Final Fantasy game since Crystal Chronicles back on GameCube, so
man. Wow.
It was even longer for me. Now I did play this game beforehand on Xbox, so I have a good comparison to look to.
Sure.
On Stadia, they've given us the full Royale version, so it has all the different episodes in it.
Yep.
It has the multiplayer paired with it, and it also has a couple little additives, including a Stadia-only challenge series. So you can take the car out, the Regalia, you can race it, you can fly it across the map, you can kind of just check out the scenery. There's an endless mode, and there's a boss fight mode where I think you just fight this death incarnate thing. It's really cool, but getting into the Stadia-specific experience, I have to say that although this game is really large, I think it's maybe a little bit too big for the Stadia. And I say that just mainly because of one aspect. It's an offline mostly game, except for the multiplayer. It doesn't need to be online. There is daily challenges, so there is kind of like a event community thing going on. But to be tethered to an online source to have to play the game is a little frustrating for me because it's so vibrant. It's such a big world. It's expansive. The graphics are beautiful. But on Stadia, it struggles to deliver that all the time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I found at moments things looked fantastic, and then other moments things were kind of scaled down a bit, right? Because it is facing the fact that you are always online and connected, and you have to have that perfect stream. Now, I've got good internet, so I don't typically have an issue. But at the same time, you and I hooked up for multiplayer, and we'll get to that part. But we had some issues in multiplayer. But for the most part, playing the game, I really enjoyed playing it on Stadia, first of all, for me personally, because I'm able to take it on the go. Now, though, the current state we're in with COVID-19, and we were just kind of wrapping up our playtime with the game, I wasn't going anywhere. So for me, I was able to play at home, play anywhere in the house, connect it to my Google Pixel, and continue playing, which was awesome. And it looks great. Obviously, being on a phone, reading some of that text is pretty darn small. But for the most part, it was a great experience, and it looked fantastic on my phone. Dude, the Pixel looked great playing the game. It was smooth, it was fluid, everything worked, but the biggest thing for me was getting into the story. And this is coming from someone who hasn't played a Final Fantasy game in so long. Jumping into Final Fantasy 15, I was like, Scott, what is this? Scott, who is this? Scott, what is going on? And you're like, yeah, did you know there's a movie? I'm like, no, what movie? And you said it was King's Glaive. I'm like, dude, watch the movie. If you have not played Final Fantasy 15 and are thinking about it, whether that be on PS4, Xbox One, or picking it up on the Stadia like we have, then I suggest you actually watch the movie first, because that's when everything clicked. It was watching the movie to get you the background of everything that happens first, because once the movie ends is when everything else picks up for the game. And that was the biggest struggle getting into the sense of the game, was I didn't have a clue, and their explanation of the story previous wasn't there jumping into 15. So I was really left in the dark trying to piece together all the puzzles to explain the story, but it was just easier going, Scott, what the heck is going on, man?
Yeah, now this game is touted as being for new players and for fans of the series. So they're trying to do a blend of both, and I do believe they've lost a little bit of the plot line because of the way they've chosen to tell the story. If you look at just the game, there's a little bit, it's kind of the lowest of all Final Fantasy games for storytelling. But that's because it goes in pair with the movie, an anime series. There's another game that's a side thing, and a mobile game. So the different episodes they've added tells a big story for a chunk that's missing during the middle, and the multiplayer also coincides with the movie and the game. So everything is this big web of the universe of Final Fantasy 15, and it's also tied to the other Final Fantasies with the major set pieces. So Rama, the different gods, they all exist across all the games, and they come out together quite spectacularly. But if you're a new player to this series, it gets a little complicated. But the story and the universe they've set up in this game is just begging for a sequel. They better give us a sequel.
Dude, it's so good. It is. Obviously, Final Fantasy is not known for being a short game, and 15 is not short by any means. You'll be here for hours. You'll be here for days, to be honest.
Absolutely.
There's so much content within the game. And then we jumped into the multiplayer. Now, on other platforms, and I'm talking about like PlayStation and Xbox, I think you're going to have a foundation and players to pull from. But for Stadia, Scott, it was just you and me on the multiplayer side of things, and even that wasn't working very well.
Yeah, we ran into a lot of connection issues. Now, we can't entirely blame that on the game, Stadia, or the internet providers right now. It's kind of all three at once due to the COVID. It's just the world we live in now. But that stability was dropping me out of the game several times. They kind of saved it. When we disconnected, I was able to reconnect within 10 minutes, and it would save my status would be there, except you were replaced with an AI.
As were you when you disconnected. So my gameplay didn't end. So I was in the middle of the lobby. We're doing our little battle and whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, crap, I got bounced. And like, you're out, but yet you continued on in my world as an AI companion. So you're always there with 3 others, whether it is your actual friends or AI companions, to help you out in battle and kind of progress through the story of the online portion, which again takes right after the story of Final Fantasy 15. So it's kind of everything just continues and continues and continues, and the world of Final Fantasy just expands even more. And I really dug the multiplayer, but there's just no one for Stadia right now playing. So when I upbooted a lobby, Scott was the only one I was able to find. Dude, you're the only one there, right? It was just you and me. No one else is playing, so it's unfortunate in that sense. Obviously, Stadia is still one of the newer products, and it's still got some proving ground, and I think that's the biggest thing kind of holding it back, as well as some of its library. But the library slowly growing, but that's a whole other discussion right now. Where Final Fantasy, I thought for the most part, single player story wise, connection there worked really well. The biggest struggle for us was the multiplayer.
Yeah, the only issue I ever had with the single player was the changing resolution. This game was kind of made as a benchmark for graphics at the time.
Sure
and
was.
People were certainly putting their money into computers and making it run the cleanest it could possibly run, getting the best TV you could. And that's kind of taken away in this iteration of like being on Stadia. Just kind of handicaps that a little bit, but it still is a pretty good package. You're able to jump in, jump out. If you get disconnected, you're still there. Technically speaking, the game is good and it runs pretty well.
Yeah.
And I had a good time.
What did you think of the combat? Because that was one of the other things that changed up, was the functionality of how you battle now compared to that typical turn-based back and forth.
Yeah, well, I hadn't gotten into 10 or 12 or any of the other ones that are more stagnant, I
Yes.
mean.
Sure.
So it was good for me. If anything, I think it kind of plays itself. You just kind of hold the button, but you have to react at the right time. It's not totally passive.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a bit of an issue sometimes kind of locking onto the target, and then because there
Yeah.
was so many enemies at once, I found myself kind of really bouncing all over the place. So I was
Yeah.
never focused on one, and then sometimes the camera angle wouldn't benefit the target I was locked on to, so it kind of made it a little confusing as to who I was trying to slash at and kind of work towards and then shoot my magic towards at the time, where my camera angle would be kind of almost in a different position or a different enemy targeted.
Yeah, it's very jumpy. It's a jumpy lock on, and sometimes I think it maybe is because of some of the larger enemies you fight. There's the Leviathan and things like that. You're jumping around in
Yeah.
the sky and you're
yeah.
zipping around everywhere. So when it comes to fighting multiple small enemies, yeah, it does kind of get a little weird.
Our adventure with Final Fantasy 15 on the Stadia was pretty good for the most part. I think you and I both had a good time, but not a perfect time. What do you score in this one?
Yeah, so I enjoy the game. The game is, technically speaking, runs pretty well. I think we're just having some issues with it being Stadia. Unfortunately, the lack of people online and the connection dropping the resolution. If you want to play this game for that beautiful sound, it's still there. The music is gorgeous. But the visuals are just a little lacking. And so due to technical issues, I think I kind of have to give this one a 6.5. It's a solid game. It is mostly delivered properly, but it just doesn't need to be that online.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good score. I'm a little bit higher than you jumping back in. I kind of, as that first timer, they kind of appealed to me and got me hooked a little bit more than I anticipated. There's all kinds of content. The story obviously is Final Fantasy, so it's incredible. The graphical fidelity most times is decent, but the online is really a struggle. I'm there with a 7.
A behemoth of an adventure for new and old fans alike. A graphical benchmark that is unfortunately reliant on a stable internet connection to get the most out of.
All right, Scott, it's a long, long journey to Mars. Will you survive?
Above all else, it is your job to keep the ship and the crew functional and well. We don't know what to expect from Tharsis, so we have to be at our best once we make planetfall.
All right, Scott, so we got our hands on Tharsis, this kind of board game survival style game. Now, this is kind of unlike most of these board game style games that I've played. So what did you think of it?
Well, this is totally out of left field for me because I don't play any board games. I haven't in a long time, and not that I'm against them. It's just not my general style. But this one bled into my universe. It got onto the Switch and therefore into my hands. And well, it's pretty punishing. It's a board game in the sense that you roll dice and you have a chance to affect repairs on a space station or a life ship that's on its way to Mars.
There's a main story, and then there's a bunch of multiple missions that you can do, which all have different timelines. But the main story is roughly 8 to 10 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So basically, every turn's a week or so, and every turn, whether it's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 rooms, all have something go wrong with it, and you can see with each room whether or not it's damage to the hull, because your ship has an overall health. So you need to be monitoring this while also monitoring the health of all your units, because that's another thing too. These events either damage the health of your units, the stress, the overall damage of the ship. So there's just so much to monitor, and believe it or not, I mostly played on easy because it is hard.
Yeah, definitely. No, I only played it on easy, and even so, I couldn't get past maybe week 6 or 7. Like, by then, it's just, you're on your last rope of survival. You have I think 4 units off the start, and due to the story, I think you have 1 dead body that you can harvest later on, because you need to monitor how much food you give these people. That determines how many dice they have, and then therefore how effective they are at repairing parts of the ship. It's a really cool concept because it makes you think about everything. Even if you have to move units through a damaged capsule, they take damage every time you do that. So you have to ration every decision, and it's
dude,
easy to end up dead.
Yes. There's a big learning curve to it because each room as well does something. So whether or not it adds dice to your characters, it heals your ship overall, or actually feeds your characters. There's all these different things that you're constantly monitoring, man.
Even when you roll the dice, you have a chance of hitting a stasis, which stops you from re-rolling it, or you hit a void or an injury, and a void takes away your dice, an injury hurts the person rolling it. It's and that could be per dice. So you're really taking a risk no matter what you do, and a lot of the times it just kind of shows you that you might have made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But the game is kind of basic in its appearance. You only ever just see like a big zoomed out picture of the ship until you go and have to repair 1 room. Then it zooms in slightly and you just see the 1 room. But the graphics are passable. It's kind of not really a game that relies on that. It's more set pieces.
Yeah, like the graphics while you're playing are, like you said, they're passable, but it's good for this style of game. But really the cutscenes and like in between missions, that's really, I think, kind of what drew me more into playing the game, because each and every time there's like a little thing describing more of, explaining more of the universe and like what's going on your ship between your crewmates.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like how there's that dynamic, and also the dynamic of if you happen to lose a character, they kind of respond to that, and you have certain choices that you're allowed. You can cannibalize the bodies if you have to,
which I thought was really cool.
It was
it's
dark.
funny. So you could cannibalize them, which adds food, but man, it just stresses everybody right out.
Oh yeah, it has consequences as well. Everything does in this. It's really quite cool that they did that and had such a deep decision making process. Cutscenes, they were kind of cool. They have a narrator that explains more of the story and kind of brings that along, and that was really well needed. So that's good points for them on that category.
We can't turn back, but how can we go on?
But if we have to wrap this up as a review on this game, I'm kind of torn. This game was really good, but at the same time, it punished you for playing it, and it's kind of hard to get into. So it's not quite my cup of tea being a board game. But I did have a good time with it. So that being said, I have to give this a 6.5.
Man, I think you hit it spot on, dude. This game was a little too punishing. Like at first, I was kind of enjoying it, being like, all right, I just need to learn how to play the game properly, and then I'll actually win. But honestly, after just a few hours of just not being able to win, it's too tough, dude. So 6.5 for me as well.
Space-themed and board-like Tharsis is a challenging survival game that fits perfectly on the Switch.
This segment is a sad and unfortunate one, and I have to be the bearer of bad news. A game I brought to everyone's attention to for a mobile mention not too long ago is unfortunately being closed down forever. After a very long haul of building up your Galactic Empire or Rebel Alliance base, the servers are officially being closed down. Microtransactions are no longer available, and the game will be officially closed down as of June. So in the meantime, whether or not you are a long-time committed fan or a newbie, you can fully upgrade your base to the final level at the cost of 1 resource per upgrade or building. I guess this is a nice way for all, like myself, who have been grinding for years, to experience some of the endgame, but all in all, I am really, really crushed. Sorry to have recommended this title not too long ago.
Corey, you ready for Sam Fisher? Because he's back with some Breakpoint.
Nomad. Glad you haven't gone soft since Bolivia.
Corey, you and I jumped into the latest DLC, episode 2 for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and man, Sam Fisher is back, but is he really?
Well, you know what? I knew when I heard we were going to be playing the Deep State DLC. It's been a while since I played Breakpoint. You and Steve have been kind of sticking with it a little bit, and kind of still seeing the game how it's progressed through. And when I heard Sam Fisher, I was like, all right, you're going to be all over this, you know, Splinter Cell. I was even excited. I'm like, this is a pretty cool integration, right? I mean, it makes sense for this game. So I was kind of hoping that when we got into it that, you know, I was going to really enjoy myself. But I don't know if that's necessarily how I felt throughout this, especially being kind of a launch player coming back to this game, you know, quite a while since launch now, and others. Yeah. Honestly, Drew, there's still problems. I don't even want to really start talking about the DLC quite yet. I just want to say that there's still issues with this game, that being someone that's playing on an original Xbox One, there's some serious problems with this game when it comes to frame rates, just moving around. I had some big issues. I don't know about you.
Oh man, so I'm on the Xbox One X and I have issues galore, and like we can do a whole video alone on the issues we have with Ghost Recon Breakpoint, because the game isn't finished. It's not polished. Honestly, half the time it's broken, which is unfortunate, right? Like
this game's got so much potential. That's why it hurts so much to see it in the state it's in, even now, so far after launch.
Well, they came with the Deep State DLC, and they've added immersion mode, which I appreciate.
This was pretty cool, yeah.
The immersion mode allows you to go in and fine tune all your settings, completely overhaul everything, right? So I went in and I messed with absolutely everything. I even to the point where I upped my difficulty level, which is something I never do. I always play on normal, and that's the way I do it. This one, I bumped it up. I took out the map. I got no HUD. I've got bullet loss, right? So if I reload, whatever was left in that clip is now gone from my inventory.
That's huge. Like,
right?
That's actually that's something a lot of gamers don't think about, because I'm a Call of Duty player, and every time I'm done firing that gun, I reload almost every time. It's just reactionary. So with that setting on, makes playing this game that much more difficult. You just always have to be more aware of, you know, how many bullets you got left in that magazine. Is it worth to change out to a new magazine or not, right? So it's those things that they add to the game that are definitely make this one a little more enjoyable too, right? Because it does immerse you a little more in this kind of lone wolf scenario that you're in.
So Sam Fisher is back. Sam Fisher was in Wildlands, and they brought him back again. At this point, don't bring Sam back. Just give me a Splinter Cell game, because I think that would be better than experience him here, because this is more of a tease. He starts off, you got to go find Sam, and you find Sam, which then leads you to go find other people that will help you take down the strategist. But at the same time, when you get to these people, they go, yeah, I will help you, but now I want this favor, and I want that. You got to do this. And you know, it's just one of those fetch stories, right?
On and on, yeah.
I kind of feel like the story of Sam Fisher's experience is like a roller coaster, because one minute you're up and it's so cool, and then the next minute it goes right back down to the bottom, and it feels like you're just crushing into the ground because it's not that good. It just takes that way, and it's so back and forth on this. Corey, how do you feel about the story, man?
Well, you know what? Because, like I said, it's been a while since I played Breakpoint, so I kind of had to get my bearings with the entire game before even kind of jumping into the DLC. There is kind of an intro mission before you even need to purchase the DLC that lets you play with, you know, you rendezvous with Sam Fisher, and he sets you up for the whole Chapter 2 scenario. So I thought that was pretty cool. Gives everybody a little bit of a taste of what they're in for that particular DLC. So if you don't own the DLC or the Season's Pass, you have to purchase it. It's $25, which isn't, you know, it isn't cheap, I don't think, for what you get. Overall, this is actually anywhere from an 8 to 20 hour playthrough. Actually, I've looked up a few and to see what everybody's playthroughs have been, and that's kind of roughly, you can take as much time. This game's very, you know, you can discover lots of different things and examine tons of stuff, so you can take plenty of time playing this. But
I'm about 20 hours myself for this.
Yeah, overall $25 is still quite a bit when we're talking about what we're really getting here. And my thought with the story was, okay, cool, Sam Fisher's a great character. I think everybody loves Sam Fisher. He looks cool, sounds cool. cool. Everything about him is pretty cool. But the only problem is you barely see him other than when you talk to him over comms or the few cutscenes that you have throughout this DLC. And it was kind of just like, I don't know. It would have been way cooler to maybe just be right alongside him the whole time while you were going through clearing areas. Most of the time you'd split off for the missions and go do your separate things and only talk over comms. So I don't know, like it just, yeah, it's a Sam Fisher DLC, but again, like you said at the intro, how much Sam Fisher's really in this DLC? It kind of almost feels like a bit of a ripoff.
He's not really there. He's there at the beginning, he's there right at the end, and even at the end he's like, okay, thanks, see ya. Right? Like,
it's like it's just, I don't know, like, how is that enjoyable? You know what I mean? Even just talking about it like this, let alone, it's hard to sell that DLC by saying, you know, the whole reason you're selling the DLC, Sam Fisher's involved. He's barely involved overall. So I mean, I don't know. It wasn't terrible. I'm not saying this was the worst experience I've ever had by any stretch, but at the same time, it wasn't really that good. And for $25, I don't know if I would say the value's there for this.
It was okay. So I want to dive in a little deeper to so some aspects of the story I thought really felt Sam Fisher like and Splinter Cell esque, and then other parts of the story. Like, for one instance, you have to go find, not even really find, you just go get this woman's daughter, who's just a whiny little brat that you help out. She looks like a troll from the Trolls movie. Like, it's just ridiculous. She looks awful.
Hair,
the characters don't look wonderful. They're just blocky looking characters. They're not polished. And some of these missions are just, they almost feel like side missions, not a true flushed out mission. And then you get to like the last level, man, you're at nighttime, the rain's coming down, and there's the glisten along some of this metal platforms that you're on, and you're picking off people and you're sniping. I'm like, this feels like that Sam Fisher Splinter Cell experience. But in a Sam Fisher DLC, I only had that experience maybe 2-3 times. And while I'm in this game, one mission is I have to go get this guy, and I sneak into the house. I'm always stealthy. That's how I play all my games, most of my games, and especially being a Sam Fisher story. So I'm on the lower level. The bad guy, is above me with his flashlight, and his flashlight shines through the floor he's on and onto my floor. I was like, come on. And this is the constant stuff you deal with in Breakpoint, and it is game breaking. It is awful. And to have that, and then you go to your bivouac and you get your loadout. And I found myself actually now using some of those resources that you gather as you're out, so I can replenish my stems, my syringes and stuff to kind of help my health and things like that, right? Because when you step up your difficulty, it really, man, it takes a toll on you. So you need to have that replenished there. So I found that was good. But again, back and forth, this whole Sam Fisher thing, it just wasn't quite the story I was hoping for to see out of a Sam Fisher DLC. I wanted to be beside Sam, working with Sam.
Oh, I look forward to future updates.
So the very last mission, I have to go find the spot we need to go to, okay? And now it tells me to go to the middle of the map. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm in the middle of the map. I'm on one side of this mountain, and I'm working towards where I think I need to go, okay? I'm not there, but I'm making my way to it. So it comes up, and then all of a sudden it says, you're there. Here's your next step within the mission. And I'm like, I'm nowhere near this thing. I'm not, like, I am 1,000 meters away from my objective, not even close to the objective, and it triggered my objective on the opposite side of the mountain. So I've got to go up the mountain still and then make it to the objective, but yet it's still triggered when I'm way back there. And I'm like, this is the experience of the entire Breakpoint Ghost Recon game, which is just man, honestly, coming off of Wildlands and seeing when we jumped into the beta of Breakpoint, thinking, okay, if they can polish this up and fix a lot of this stuff, we're in for one hell of a game.
We were all hyped for it.
It just didn't pan out. Honestly, it hasn't panned out. It's still not fixed. It's still buggy and janky, and there's so many problems. And then the Sam Fisher DLC Deep State storyline is just kind of, it was cool in premise, It had some great
hollow,
moments,
though,
but
really.
it's just more like a hot mess still.
Yeah, it's to me it didn't have the substance that you wanted from this Sam Fisher. You know what you would expect for Sam Fisher. So
Yep.
I don't know. I think we probably should maybe score this, Drew. If we're gonna score the DLC, we can only probably talk about it so much more before we give away everything about it.
Yeah.
But if you do have to score this, Drew, what are you gonna do?
It kind of breaks my heart to do this, but with the amount of bugs we're still experiencing in Breakpoint, is really just breaking the game. Sam Fisher's story had some highs, but it has a lot of lows still, because it's not that full Splinter Cell Sam Fisher experience. It's more just talking to him on the comms. And for him to jump in for 30 seconds at the beginning and 30 seconds at the end, I'm there with a 4.5.
When you know what, I hear you with that, Drew. 4.5 is a totally fair score for this. Like I said, this is a $25 expansion. If you don't own the Seasons Pass, which I mean, if you do own the Seasons Pass, you may be upset that you bought that as well. But at the same time, it's cool that Sam Fisher's in this game. It's cool that you get a skin, so there's kind of the plus side there. But overall, the story just wasn't there for me, and this game still has way too many problems. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
There you go.
So, what brings the mighty Sam Fisher to a roar?
I'm after someone called the Strategist. He's been kidnapping military specialists all over the world.
Breakpoint had many issues at launch, and unfortunately many of those issues remain. Having Sam Fisher in the game is great, but your interaction with him is limited, and the overall story was kind of weak. It's going to be hard to get the value out of this $25 DLC.
I'm here with more highlights from Rainbow Six Siege Pro League from the third week back. As per usual, it was an exciting line of games starting on Monday and ending on Wednesday. Now to give you a quick rundown of the season, we're actually almost done. We have one more game on Monday, and it will be a pretty big one as it will be the deciding factor of all teams. Although the teams are not close across all the board, there is still a big fight between 5th place and, of course, TSM and Space Station Gaming. They will be fighting for 1st place, and they will ironically be matching up on Monday. Starting off Monday, we had Luminosity Gaming versus E United on Border, and it was a good game of players absolutely popping off. Both Grixer and Forrest had 4-kill rounds and were the all-stars of their team throughout most of the match. It was also a day of success for diffuser plants as 4 out of 6 were deployed successfully. EU and LG put up a great fight against each other, but ultimately Luminosity came out on top with a 7-5 victory. The second match was a bit more lopsided. The current champions of the world, Space Station Gaming, have been undefeated so far this half of the season, and they continued their reign of terror against Team Reciprocity. SSG won 6 rounds in a row while defending on Border before finally giving Team Reciprocity only 2 wins when switching sides. A 7-2 victory kept SSG looking strong and like a force to be reckoned with. Match number 3 was TSM, who holds 1st place in North America against the struggling Evil Geniuses. Unfortunately, the struggle for EG was real, and although they put up a good fight on CAF 8, it wasn't enough with a 7-4 loss. The final match of Monday was of course Tempo Storm against Dark Zero Esports. This was an important matchup because Dark Zero Esports is still in the fight for 3rd place against Team Reciprocity, so all these points are absolutely crucial. Dark Zero Esports did in fact crunch down and defeated Tempo Storm 7-4. Alright, moving forward into Wednesday's games, we started off with a bit of a shocker. we had Tempo Storm fighting Luminosity Gaming on Cafe. Now, if you remember last week's highlights, Tempo Storm played TSM last on Cafe, and they got completely steamrolled 7-0. This time though, Tempo Storm, they set the bar as they came in with a 7-1 victory. Tempo Storm was really on their game, and it was apparent that they learned from their mistakes against TSM. Luminosity Gaming just couldn't pull it together, unfortunately, either, but even after their loss, they were still able to hold 5th place. The second match of the day was again on Cafe, but this time played out a little bit differently. Dark Zero Esports and Team Reciprocity are on the hunt for 3rd place, and this match will play a huge contributing factor to overall standings. Team Reciprocity almost had a flawless half while defending, winning the first 5 out of 6 rounds. Dark Zero Esports were hella quick to respond as they won all rounds while defending, resulting in a 7-5 victory. This victory secured Dark Zero Esports with at least a 3rd place position. Moving forward into the 3rd match, we had some really impactful moments as E United beat TSM 7-5 on Clubhouse. Now, E United picked up Alfalma a little while ago on their roster, and this is pretty huge because he comes all the way from France. For any individual to move out to another country, let alone continent, is a huge transition. So to see him and E United get their first victory with Alfalma part of their team was incredibly exciting. You could really just see how he's bonding well with his teammates and just adjusting to the big move here. So a huge shout out to him and all of E United. The final match of the day brought us again for the 3rd time to Cafe. This time with Evil Geniuses trying to capture a victory against Space Station Gaming. Unfortunately though for EG, the game really started off rough, losing all 6 rounds in a row to almost get swept while defending is a really tough pill to swallow. Although it was one-sided at first, Evil Geniuses were starting to look promising as they won 3 rounds in a row while attacking. This is all surprising because Cafe is typically a very defender-strong map. But anyways, while EG tried to win the 4th round, while attacking, they couldn't quite pull it off as they lost 7-3. Now wrapping things up, I'll continue with the remainder of the highlights and show you again quickly the standings and where all our favorite teams are at. Stay tuned next week as the season will finally be coming to conclusion. Enjoy.
What if you woke up to 2 moons? The moons of madness.
Do you ever consider it?
If I ever think about what we left behind?
I mean, we've been here for what, going on 8 months now. That's quite the stint, especially when home is more than 1,000,000 miles away.
Absolutely.
Alright, Scott, we entered the Moons of Madness on Xbox One, dude, and this game got me jumping out of my seat, man. What the heck did you think of it?
Yeah, so this is my kind of game. I like these horror games. I like the creeper walking sim, I guess you could say, but this one's a little more exciting than a walking sim. This is puts you on Mars, puts you in the universe of the Cthulhu and Lovecraftian magic, and lets you kind of descend down the inevitable mix that brings. But action-wise, you're kind of just starting off with a bunch of Martian chores, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it starts off pretty well. Starts off kind of light. To be honest, it kind of got me good at the very beginning. It kind of gets you right inside the game pretty quickly, which I thought was good. But it's, yeah, like you said, it's kind of just you performing chores. You're talking to a couple other people that you're working with that are on the station. So you're kind of establishing some character there, which I thought that all in all was pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, it actually was really good. A lot of the characters quip with each other or have very distinct personalities. And I don't want to get into too much of the story because that's what the draw is here for. But not all of them are what they seem, and maybe not yourself, and maybe nothing is what it seems. It's just everything is a mystery in this game. Don't take what you think is happening to be the truth. And that's what the game is all about, trying to figure out what is going on.
Am I dreaming or is this reality right now? That's what I often ask myself while playing this game. But they did a really good job on doing that. I found they, like most of these games, they have like little bits of lore all throughout. Like if you're just looking in the environment itself, there is a lot to just see and explore. But they also have documents and computer files, and all that kind of stuff along the way as well.
Yeah, and how cool was it to find like different scrawling notes that people write and different like little scraps. They personalized the Martian base and kind of really did make it feel like it had these people living in it, and it was a busy place.
Yeah, man. And honestly, I like the attention to detail I found was amazing, because often a lot of the notes or documents you pick up and look at physically, I actually didn't even press right trigger to read the, typed up notes that they did. I just ended up looking at it and reading it. It felt so almost authentic, you know what I mean? They did a good job, man.
Oh, absolutely. And especially with all the different symbols and stuff that come up with. And the different notes, they look cool. So there's different artwork and stuff that's written into these, and it makes it just seem more authentic, like you said. That's great. A lot of the detail in this game is in kind of the moving models. So some of the things that you come across look a little bit better than the environment, but I never found that the graphics in this game were ever lackluster. They did a good job at showing everything.
Alongside, dude, the attention to detail in this game, the audio just cues in beautifully, I found. It just creeps me right out alongside with just the overall atmosphere of the game.
Oh yeah, they did a good job at having just little weird sounds around the station, or just like the creepy whispers happening all the time. It really matched the scenery and the grotesque nature of what's going on. All the different like puddle scrunching sounds, gross wriggling.
And the life form that they created is really just a nasty sounding and looking thing. It was really cool.
Oh yeah.
So Scott, on the more calm side of the gameplay, they kind of throw these puzzles at you, and I was pleasantly surprised, dude. I didn't find myself caught up on them, at least never too long or never too easy. Like, it was just a really good balance I found between both.
Oh yeah, they hide lots of passwords around, and then that's how you get into certain doors or certain computers. There's different little hidden fragments that, if you're paying attention to the game, it makes the puzzles good and it rewards you for paying attention to the game. I like that.
Yeah.
On the more harsher side of gameplay, you have a lot of these chase sequences where you're just have to get out of there. And I think it's really cool too, because sometimes you can see your heart rate when you're out with the helmet on. And you can tell when you have a high heart rate and you get to the oxygen, your guy is like struggling to put the hose together, and he's really like, just you hear the panic and the way it kind of changes the audio. It was really cool and detailed.
Yeah, I thought so too, man.
But we can't really talk about it too much more without giving away any of the story. And
yeah,
I'm of the opinion that you should check this one out. This is worth the story. I think it's really cool. And the detail in the game and the horror elements are there. The only issue I had was pacing, but I have to give this one a 6.5. It was pretty exciting.
Okay, man, I'm actually higher than you. I had a good time with this. I thought the horror elements really kind of captivated me, because a lot of horror games don't really do it, but this one did, man. So I'm going to have to give this one a 7.5. Moons of Madness has a good mixture of puzzling, exploring, and running for your life, but sometimes doesn't always have the right pacing. With a lot to discover and read within the world, this game does a great job of creeping you out while keeping you interested.
A little while ago, the guys and I jumped on the PlayStation to check out the Predator beta. And trust me, we had a blast. Check out this Let's Play.
Voodoo 1, this is Zeus.
Yeah, I got a headband.
See the location Alpha and await further orders. I gotta figure out these instructions from technical.
That's right. yeah. It's a lot easier, that's for sure. You give it a couple of months and then you're in trouble. Especially if you don't stick with it. Man, everybody steps up their gameplay. There's a couple alarms, Corey, you gotta watch for. Yeah, I got one here too. I just there you go. I disarmed it.
Watch that shotgun!
I got somebody here. Nice. No. It won't let me. I'm looking at the ground. It won't let me do it. Okay. Our objective is 137 meters away. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, because they do have that thermal vision, right? Man, I wish one of us could have been Predator. Because we're in that party of 4, I don't... Ooh, where? Where are you? Where are you? Well, I'm right here with you. Yeah. No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm moving in. Oh yeah, he'll be working in the trees. Woo!
Okay, give me
I
a
heard
second.
him. I heard him.
Step 1.
I'm disabling an alarm right here. Oh, I'm getting shot. First, actually.
Install the scanners on the following solar panel substation.
Alright, I'm disabling this alarm. Oh man. Come on. There we go. Oh, nice. You got that one? Oh, man. There's one over there. There's one over... this... there we go. That way. Alright, we're heading to this back room here. Whoa, he's shooting at me! Shooting at me! Woo! I'm getting this column here. Did anybody see him?
Step 2.
He's up in the trees.
System scan and wait for the analysis to compile. This will
There he is. I see him.
network alarm, so expect
Up there in the tree. 330.
Keep your head down.
I just shot him. He's climbing. Oh, dude, man, this sniper rifle is not the coolest thing I've played with. Oh, he's asleep. Yeah, I lost him now. Man, he goes invisible, he's gone. Woo, big time. I'm getting this comm here. Oh, apparently I'm reloading first. There we go. Got it. You hear who? The Predator or the bad guy? Oh, he's got me.
The system's vulnerable.
Oh! He's at 345-ish?
Got their shotgun. Huh? What the?
Nice. Woo. Where is he? Where is he? Hey. Alright, cool. Oh, he's right there. It's 30. 30 in the trees? Man, he's way up there. There he is. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. He jumped over 330. Lost him. Dude, he goes invisible. He's so hard to see. That shotgun is... Corey's like, I'm waiting on the shotgun. Okay. Yeah, there's some stairs over here. So we have 5 minutes left to get this objective done. Oh no, we'll lose if he doesn't. Oh, there we go, there we go. Oh, Corey! Oh no!
I'm reading flatlines across the board. Please respond.
Ah. Well, Corey, there is 65 episodes with Inside the Game. It's been a long and interesting journey. We've had a great time doing this show, and we got a lot more in the books. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca, where there you finish off our show with one of your cool clips. Corey, who do we have this week?
This week we got Mailbox Arson 88 on Xbox with Call of Duty Warzone with a sweet squad wipe. Let's check it out.
Thanks so much for sticking around, and we'll see you next week Inside the Game.
Losing ground. Enemy UAV overhead.
Not dead yet. Shake it off. Marking targets. You're cleared hot.
This is Striker 3-1. Good copy. Get back.
Son of a...